Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the NRG series in Lansing, Michigan. I'm Mason Clark, joined by Ross Merriam, and today we're covering a team event. And Ross, let's check out those players to watch really quick and look at some of those teams and see how they're doing.
They're doing quite well. A lot of 3-0s among these teams. Team events end up being the domain of some of the best players in the room because they get picked up by other great players that they're teaming with. So, no surprise to see the cream rising to the top very early here.
Yes, and we've seen actually this like kind of one of the benefits of that going on in all of our feature matches, right? One of the players starts losing, and then the other two teammates win, right? So getting that little buffer, right, of like, okay, maybe Raj is losing, but it's okay. Me and Ross got him. It's really nice. It gets to hang out with your friends. It's gonna be a fun time. Let's talk about the next two events for the year coming up, as those are going to be rounding us out before we get our players in the feature match area. We have Mundelein, Illinois, September 13th and the 14th, very soon here, Ross. Saturday, we're doing a modern 10K showdown. Sunday, a 2.5K legacy trial and a 2.5K Edge of Eternity sealed trial. We're going to stream the legacy one here, so make sure to follow along on Twitch or on YouTube if you're watching the VOD for this. That way you don't miss any of that action. And then to round out the year, we're going to Elmhurst, Illinois. Saturday, we're going to have a Team 10K showdown standard sealed modern. Sunday, 10K Modern Showdown. Boom, November 1st and 2nd. That will wrap up the year. You win either of those events, you make through the end of the year Players Championship with thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars online, a Pro Tour invite, and so much more. But let's head down to our feature match area as our players are dealing things up here. Looks like the matches are filled in still from before. Don't worry about that too much. As it looks like we're going to start here with Raja Suleiman on your left, former champ of the NRG series here, on Esper Midrange versus Justin Kristen on Domain Zoo.
Yeah, two of the more played decks in Modern, and a matchup that is very, very interesting. The Domain deck is built around getting ahead early and then solidifying that advantage with Consigned Memory, Summer Denial. The Esper deck, a much stronger late game, a lot more card advantage, things going on. So the Domain deck is going to try to win the early game, stop limit the potential avenues for interaction, especially with Leyline of the Guild Pact and Scion of Draco. Raja is going to try to make the games go long. So he's very much the control deck. Christensen, the beatdown.
Yep, and we see this Leyline of the Guild Pact being in play right at the start. It's going to make the mana so good for Christian in this 5-color deck and potentially create a really hard to answer Scion. Now, you are going to see there's already a pip here, even though we've updated all the other ones. That's because there was a deck registration error going on. So a game loss, unfortunately, up there in the standard seats. We are going to see a fetch into a Thoughtseize here. And there it is, that Scion of Draco, before it could come down and have protection.
Yeah, this is one of the few ways to really easily answer the combo of Leyline plus Scion. Otherwise, Raja would have to wait until he could trigger a Witch Enchanter, or would have to pitch a bunch of cards to March of Otherworldly Light, which he has one of in the main, to answer the Leyline and make the Scion targetable. So a very clutch Thoughtseize from Raja, because early Leyline Scion can easily run away with the game.
Yeah, I mean, you will sometimes mulligan to that hand. 4 cards, 2 Lance, Guild Pact Scion is enough to win in some matchups. As Ragavan is going to get across here, hit something I can't quite make out. Looks like a Quantum Riddler.
Yeah, I think so. And Justin doing a check to see what happens if I warp this.
Yeah, I do believe it goes to Raja. Yeah, it looks like we're going to get a confirmation with the judge here. I believe because how this works is it's the owner of the card. We're going to stay here just for 1 second really quick, as it looks like the players are just double checking something that shouldn't take too long. Normally would hop over. But in those other matchups, we have the bottom. We have High Tide on Max Smith over here versus Blue Terror with Alex Hamilton. That's going to be a very interesting matchup. Blue Terror has lots of permission for High Tide, but High Tide very powerful. Definitely can play through the level of permission with the right draws.
Absolutely. And I'm checking the reminder text on warp, and what I suspected is correct. You can only warp from the hand. So that's just not an option available to Christensen.
Well then, nothing to really worry about. Is Flicker with Solitude, Ephemerate are some of the cards in hand for Raja Suleiman here. Raja known for playing, either the worst black mid-range deck you've ever seen or a control deck, and this has got to feel like home for him. They just all together in one big place.
Interestingly, no play there from Christensen on 3 mana. That is pretty rare for the Zoo deck. It's a big sign to Raja that there's not really any gas left in the hand. So he has some breathing room here. Just needs to deal with his Ragavan and then start taking over with his card advantage sources.
Okay, Emperor Bones is going to come down. That's going to get rid of the Scion. The Scion could even come back later. But notably, too, will make Flage, trying to fire Sphere a little bit harder to bring back. And now we're going to see some fetching. Maybe get some surveilling action happening here for Justin. All right, looks like we're going to get the Plains. A little interested to not see any surveilling, just sort of happy to get what life gives you. We have a fetch line on top of the deck.
And there's no concern of any sort of moon effect in this matchup. That would be the reason to have a basic, because when you have Leyline and a basic against a moon, then the Leyline still impacts the basic, and you have all 5 land types.
All right, and then we offer the Ragavan trade. Rogers accepts, and Justin didn't have a backup Ragavan. I thought that might have been what was going on there, but it looks like we're just passing the turn. As I do think Justin is just on mono lands. Now, Raja doesn't have a third land, but does have Felia.
Yeah, drew a Psychic Frog for turn, but has the dreaded plain Psychic Frog Nombo.
Just good deck building.
The mana base in this Esper deck is probably one of its biggest weaknesses.
Yeah, that is very believable to me. A little surveil action here.
The basics to play on moons and the Witch Enchanters being part of the mana base, having more effective 1-color lands definitely hurts you.
Yeah, that is not a free roll. As we get the 4th land here into Felia. Felia might flicker this treasure token.
Found a Polluted Delta off the top, so that means Psychic Frog is online. We'll likely get either Hallowed Fountain or Godless Shrine, so he has the 2nd white source for the Flickerwisp in hand as well.
Yeah, also we'll have the ability to Ephemerate to protect with all this, since the planes will be up. So that Leyline Binding, which Raja does know about from the Thoughtseize. Looks like there's a confirmation of life totals here to make sure. Fetching and shocking and Thoughtseizing. Sometimes you miss one. Raja can play the Psychic Frog out first if he wants to flicker it in order to get a counter on his Felia in the long term. Looks like we're going to attack and then get rid of this treasure. And then a fetch and probably a shock. Looks like a 10 was written down.
Godless Shrine or Hallowed Fountain. I would guess Godless Shrine. Yeah, this is very much a black-white splash blue deck, so you'd rather get the 2nd black source than the 2nd blue.
Makes a lot of sense to me, as does developing the Psychic Frog onto the table.
Yeah, and now the pressure's on. And as I mentioned earlier, the Zoo deck, not known for incredible sources of card advantage. It's really, a couple Fables and a Flage is the late game plan.
All right, notably here, Raja had Ephemerate, but is holding it for the Solitude Flickerwisp combo in hand here. Maybe clean up some potential threats from Justin in the long term. Could have Ephemerated that Psychic Frog to keep it around against the Leyline Binding, but decided to hold.
Could also suspect that there's a 2nd binding in hand. Given that Justin has done absolutely nothing, that could be something that he's drawn into and wants to save it.
A reasonable conclusion as Consign hits the graveyard. I do wonder, I haven't looked at Justin's deck yet because we're going to feature much here. Is Justin playing the Quantum Riddler version of Zoo or the Fable version?
He's on Fables.
Fables, okay.
Yeah. The one interesting aspect of his list, especially for this matchup, he's on 2 copies of Doorkeeper Thrall.
Okay, that's huge. That will stop those Solitudes and all those other powerful ETBs. As here comes Ragavan. Raja deciding, do I want to Solitude and Ephemerate this? Gonna go down to 8. See what's on top of the old deck here. And then Ragavan back to the hand. Thoughtseize, the draw for Raja.
So now he gets to see everything that's going on and understand that Justin's hand is quite weak.
Yeah. And honestly, it's funny. You're going to want to cast a Thoughtseize. It's going to get the Ragavan at worst. But you're definitely like, I'm getting kind of dangerously low against this Flay's Tribal Flames deck.
Yeah, and he doesn't have a lot going on. Maybe going to end up regretting letting his Psychic Frog go.
Flicker Wisp coming down. Gonna hit the planes. Then we're gonna failure the Flicker Wisp.
Could have flickered out the Leyline Binding and then failured out the Psychic Frog and have the Binding come back before the Frog and force him to take something else. That would have been cool.
That'd have been nice. The failure gets a counter from a thing being exiled.
Just wants the land to hold up Ephemerate. And I think the real motivation is exiling one of his own permanents. So now the Philia is a 3/3. It can check the Ragavan next turn.
Definitely. Looks like Flicker Wisp is going to hit the Leyline Binding, which is going to get the Psychic Frog.
Okay. And then now the Ephemerate is up to Ephemerate whatever the Binding hits on the way back.
Yeah. And since this is in the end step on the Flicker Wisp, we'll come back on the end step of Justin. It's kind of a weird interaction. As Flage tied into Fire's Fury is the rip here.
Whew.
And Justin has a lot of mana as well. Looks like we're sitting on 6 currently. If we have another land in hand, that could be the ability to return it immediately to the battlefield. Teammate says, I'd probably play that one.
That's a good one. So the hand is Flage, Ragavan, and what is it? Lithoscard's the another Leyline. Okay, so no 7th mana to escape Flage immediately, but can dash the Ragavan after playing the Flage. And now Raja has to make a choice. Does he try to save his Philia? Which, if Christensen wants to answer the Philia, he can bind it even if you Ephemerate here. So if you seems like you should just protect from the binding. But maybe he also cares about the life gain. Because Justin's only at 11.
Yeah, it's interesting. Because you could also... Really weird spot here for both players.
Yeah, Raja is going to give up the dog. Justin will go up to 14.
And just hard casting the Ragavan. Don't want to dash it into the Psychic Frog in case Raja has a card he just wants to discard. And now Leyline Binding, I believe, was targeting Psychic Frog again. I didn't get a clear look at where the finger was pointing. But yeah, we are going to Ephemerate the Frog.
Now Raja doesn't have a white card in hand to evoke the Solitude.
Yeah. No Arena Glory, at least for Raja not to have to worry about. That would have made life extra tough.
Nothing he really wants to Ephemerate here. There's not...
Hitting the Flicker Wisp to then get rid of the Ragavan means you get the card off Psychic Frog, which just might be needed to find that white card we were talking about. You could also just not let the Ephemerate... you don't have to cast it.
Yeah. It would be Flicker Wisp if he's targeting anything. It's just a question of what he can do with the Flicker Wisp, and it's not much because you can always jump the Psychic Frog if you wanted to. He might want to attack with the Flicker Wisp as well.
Yeah, and it looks like that's what Roger's deciding. He started to target the Flicker Wisp, and actually, now I'm going to leave that in exile. Rip second Psychic Frog off the top.
That one does not help very much. Can't double spell with Thoughtseize and Frog because of that Plains, and it doesn't really help him in the face of this Flage.
Yep, Frog jumps here. And attack in for 4. Curious to see if we're going to discard this Thought Seize in order to get an extra point in. Decide against it. Draw a card from the Psychic Frog. I think that's Emperor of Bones.
Yeah, but that's a little late.
Yeah, that had been one card deeper. It would have been an absolutely absurd draw. Raja can get down Psychic Frog, though, right now. Notably, it is a card that he can use that the Flage can't kill, and then open the door for Ragavan to attack and potentially find even more things. So we have to lose a lot of our hand to do that, but we could. And Steven Dykeman has tied things up in Standard. So they're going to have a game number 3.
Okay, so this turn is really just about how Justin wants to use the Flage. Will almost assuredly be the play. Can't imagine what he would draw that would be better. What he really wanted to draw was Arena of Glory, but that clearly did not come. Flicker Wisp down. Just doesn't want to deal with any of the frog nonsense. So thought we might see a target on the untapped frog and then an attack with the Ragavan to either get a Ragavan attack in or force a trade, but
looks like Fatal Push was the draw here for Raja.
Fatal, he has no way to turn on Revolt.
Yeah.
If he had a white card, if he could evoke Solitude, then sure.
And it looks like he's just going to jump a Psychic Frog. I wonder if he's going to discard all the non-Solitude cards to the frogs and then jump again.
Yeah, just to try to hit the white card and give himself 2 draws to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're all inning, but like you're kind of in that sort of position either way. All right, it looks like Raja's just going to hope the top of the deck is good. He hits Psychic Frog.
Ugh. 3 straight non-white cards for Raja Suleiman, and now he is really under the gun against this Flage.
Yeah, and of note, I mean, so if the Flage shoots the frog, he can let the frog die and then Fatal Push, which is something. But yeah, I mean, Raja is sort of getting pretty unlucky not even to draw land, because at least with lands, he could have gotten close into casting the Solitude on this turn. You know, if he had just been flooding out, he could spend 5 mana, but hitting the very few number of cards in the deck that aren't white, like you're saying, this is mostly a black-white deck. And yeah.
Looking at the mana base, the fetch lands are still in play because of ley lines for Justin Christensen. There's 1 card in the graveyard. So if say Justin kills the Emperor of Bones here on the Flage attack and Raja Fatal Pushes the Flage, can he potentially bring the Flage back immediately? You can fetch for a Surveil land and get up to 3 non-Flage cards, and the other fetch is number 4. You need 1 more. He has another fetch in hand. So as long as there's a Surveil land left in the deck for one of those fetch lands, Flage can be escaped immediately after a Fatal Push. Raja, likely knows this. Oh no, he goes going for the push, not jump and hope to draw a white card.
Yeah, maybe hoping to actually try to win the game here with these Psychic Frogs. But Territorial Kavu comes down. Land, notably a fetch land for Justin.
Yeah, that's also a little late. The push has already been used. Raja's still missing the white card for Solitude.
This fetch land does let you get a Surveil, though, and a card in the yard to jump the frog. So you get some looks.
And for as much as Raja needs to answer this Flage, the Kavu is really threatening as well.
Yeah, and this is kind of what the Zoo deck does, right? It plays a couple pretty good creatures that can kind of carry the game on their own, maybe a little hard to answer or, run away with the game quickly, and just plays removal spells from there. And Justin hasn't had a lot of ways to clear the path, but it's been very frustrating for Raja, despite you might thinking on the glance that this might be an easier matchup.
Yeah, at one point in this game, Raja had Solitude Ephemerate, Flicker Wisp in hand with Philia Psychic Frog, and he kind of used the Flicker Wisp for very mediocre value, thinking he would find another white card later, and just didn't. And
Yeah.
that's sort of been his undoing. Now the Solitude is sat useless in his hand, and there's another non-white card, but just a Swamp. So if he can survive this turn, the Solitude could be hard cast next turn.
Yeah, and Hardcast Solitude is a good way to get back to the game. We are going to start seeing some fetching here. I'm curious to see, is Justin going to, how many Surveillance do we have? What are we exactly going to get? So first we're going to start with the Indatha Triome. Then we're going to fetch with the Flood Strand.
Usually there's 2 Surveillance in these lists, Thundering Falls and Lush Portico. And
that's a Steam Vents. Now, there is a tapped fetch land thanks to the Leyline of the Guild pack. So on our turn, we can fetch with that and then do our thing.
Yeah, I do see those 2 Surveillance in the list. I think that they might both be in play. Isn't that Lush Portico underneath the plains?
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's hiding out over there, and there's Thundering Falls.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he actually couldn't have brought back the Flage last turn. He didn't have another Surveil land left.
All right. It does look like Lightning Bolt was the draw for Justin. A lot of reach here. Has Territorial Kavu. Draw discard. Or discard draw, pardon me.
Bolt definitely complicates things for Raja. He's at 7. There's a Flage in the graveyard. Flage plus Bolt is lethal with any other less loss of life. So,
and Raja's going to be thinking about that, thinking about Tribal Flames. Definitely is going to want to try to block if at all possible.
Yeah, imagine we'll see the Thoughtseize get discarded to the Frog on Ragavan just to keep that around. And then the other Frog will get lost to the Chump block. And then there's a real question of whether Justin wants to go upstairs with the Flage or go towards one of the Frogs.
Yeah. Going towards the Frog means Raja will either lose it or the 2 cards in hand. While going upstairs sort of puts you at any damage source away.
Got a 2/3 with 2 damage on it and a 1/2 with no damage on it. So the 2/3 is both the juicier target and the more vulnerable one to damage-based removal.
Yeah, you don't really want to give Raja the choice, I think, here. Like if you want to kill the Frog, you want to kill the Frog. So we are going to exile 5. And now Flage is back. And yep, it's going to target the Psychic Frog. Raja knows he can't save it. It goes to the yard, and Justin gains 3 more life.
Okay. So Swamp Solitude can answer the Flage. But then Justin just bolts it and has the giant Kavu that trumps the Frog at this point because Raja's so low on cards.
Yeah. Raja does have the ability to jump this Frog, so we can get in another look. It looks like Overlord of the Baelmerk is the card draw for turn.
Okay, and there's a Quantum Riddler left in the graveyard after all the Frog activations. Wow, still no white cards. That was Overlord land. Overlord could return a white card if you wanted to.
Yeah, you just got to hit one.
So this could be cast Overlord. Try to return a white card. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let's see what happens. All right, we hit a Solitude.
Yeah.
Solitude. I think Ophelia is the other one.
Yeah, and the Overlord is big enough to trade with the Kavu, so that's a much better blocker than Solitude would have been. Also not going to die to the Lightning Bolt. The Overlord was a great hit for Raja.
Okay, Raja doing this in the upkeep. If the opponent has a consign, he's going to die either way. Has the Doorkeeper's going to die either way. But if there's some card he can't think of, he'll just do it now. He's going to pass the turn. Scion.
Scion?
That gives first strike to that Territorial Kavu, which means it can attack into the Overlord of the Baelmerk.
Wow, yeah, first strike and trample, but the first strike is the relevant part here.
Yeah.
And with Raja on just a land, he may take this attack and just say, I can't beat a bolt.
Yeah, I mean, you're in a tough spot. You kind of need this Overlord to hit a Solitude on its attack trigger. And yeah, as we know, there is a Bolt. So that's going to do it. Raja Suleiman down a game here. Justin winning here. Other two teammates up one for Raja. Let's check out some of the other tables and see where we're at. As it looks like we're going to hop over to Popper. And in Popper land, we're seeing the High Tide deck try to do its thing, but it's getting tempoed out a little bit by Blue Terror.
Yeah, this seems like a tough matchup for a High Tide. Pressure and counter magic has always been a great combo to have against combo decks. And that's exactly what Mono Blue Terror is doing.
Oh, looks like we got Giga Droust.
Ooh, that's a good start. So this is the turn. If Max Smith wants to win, it's going to be here. High Tide. There we go. So now all the lands make 2 mana.
Oh, and Steven Dykeman just won the standard match 2-1 because of the deck reg error for Dimir midrange. Let's see what we can do here. All our islands tap for an extra mana.
So here's a Peer Through Depths. No mana floating because that island tap for 2. Look at the top 5. Find one of them. Instant or sorcery, I believe.
All right.
That's a Reach Through Mists.
Preordain in hand as well.
Needs to find a way to untap some lands. So Reach Through Mists, Splice Ideas Unbound. Is that what's happening, or just Ideas?
I think so. I think we are.
Oh no. Oh no, that's Psychic Puppetry.
Oh, sure. Tap or untap a permanent, splice into the arcane. So that with your High Tide means you can untap these lands, go up a mana.
So we're splicing Puppetry onto Ideas Unbound.
Yeah, and that's what I was just saying there.
Yeah.
Land for turn has been played. Another High Tide here. I think extra crazy. It looks like Mac kind of shaking the head there. I think Scroll is one of the cards. Brainstorm is going to be the pick. We mentioned this before. It's sort of do or die moment here for the High Tide deck. Not only is all the mana tapped out, we're also at 4 with 2 different huge attackers in the way.
There's another Ideas Unbound. I assume splicing a Puppetry, but we only tap the one land.
Yeah, we might be verbally shortcutting.
Yeah. To say I'm going to do this, so probably an extra mana floating now at this point.
Yeah. I would guess it is possible we messed up. Yeah, draw 3, discard 3 cards at the end of turn. Yeah, this would seem to indicate we talked about before.
This should just be free. So should still have 1 mana floating from the previous splice, and there's another High Tide.
Yeah, but is it too late? I'm not exactly sure. So we High Tide here. Now all our lands are making 3. Okay, so we did have the 1 floating, yeah.
That now 3 mana. Does he have another way to splice the Puppetry? I don't think so. Goes for a Brainstorm.
And then picks up the cards. Wow. All right. Max Smith tried to go off, but could not do it against the Blue Terror deck. We'll hop back over to Modern. Maybe we'll see what's going on here, as it looks like game number 2 is starting up. Once again, Steven Dykeman did win game 1. So Raja or Mac just need to win in order to win the round, but the other team needs to sweep it. Leyline of the Guild Pact on a Mold 6 here.
That's the way you want to start.
And it looks like we do have the Scion in hand.
Raja does have more ways to potentially answer a Leyline and then answer Scion after board. Has another March, has a Teferi Time Raveler that could have come in. Could have also brought in some number of his consigns. They can counter the Scion. They can also counter the trigger of Leyline Binding.
Yeah.
They have some functionality in this matchup.
Surveil the card on top. Slam Psychic Frog.
Nice.
A real
Looks like looks like the Scion is going to resolve.
Now, we do have Witch Enchanters that can blow up the Leyline of the Guild Pact. We can Flicker Wisp it away and then do something, but this Scion is going to prove to be an issue for right now. Felia is in hand. That's a way to get rid of the Guild Pact for a second, along with this. Excuse me, I thought we had Assaulty. We do not. It looks like we have double Fatal Push in hand and Emperor Bones, and we're just going to pass the turn back. Hold up Felia.
Leyline or no, Fatal Push never answers Scion of Draco.
Yeah, despite your best efforts.
But they played it for 2 mana, Mason.
Yeah. Maybe consider a tragic trajectory in these trying times. So it looks like, okay, it's double Felia, double Fatal Push, Emperor of Bones for Raja. Sean here might be talking. This looks like Psychic Frog's going to get Leyline bound. Trying to maybe clear the way for this Scion of Draco. We have another one in hand as well, and a Doorkeeper Thrall.
Thrall will definitely play. That'll stop the Flicker Wisp from exiling the Leyline, even temporarily. But there's multiple Fatal Pushes waiting for it.
Yep, here comes Felia.
No, it's not Flicker Wisp, it's Felia, so Thrall not so good against the dog.
Yep. Yeah, it's double dog. There's another one in hand there in case this one does get bolted or whatever.
Yes, the double dog dare hand.
Yes. As here comes a little surveilling action. See what Raja hits on top of the deck. Looking for an answer to this Leyline of the Guild Pact. Gonna put a land in the graveyard.
That one won't answer a Leyline. And another land off the top.
Polluted Delta the Rip.
Emperor of Bones, not particularly impressive here, but we'll check future Flages. And Raja's hand just does not line up well against the Leyline Scion.
Yeah, and honestly, part of the reason to be the Zoo deck, right, is that people just struggle with this combination. Sometimes you just get a lot of free wins. Flage off the top.
So I could hit the Philia. It could waste the adapt on the Emperor as well. Wouldn't kill it, but. Oh no, Philia just entered with the Thrall. Excuse me. So that's actually much better. Avoid the graveyard entirely for the Emperor, stick around. Now that's a real threat. Will likely get Fatal Pushed after the fetch land, and then the Emperor can exile it.
Well, everything is hexproof.
Oh yeah, because Jesus.
Yeah. So I mean,
every color.
Yeah, everything is every color. So they're first striking, vigilancing, hexproofing.
Yeah. These Fatal Pushes are just embarrassing. They're just blank pieces of cardboard.
Yep. And that's the weird part of this matchup, right? Is sometimes they're really great, If this Leyline wasn't here and, Justin just had another spell, it would be like, oh, yeah, I'll Fatal Push some of this stuff, I'll have to work through the, Flage later, et cetera, et cetera. But
yeah, so Flicker is just turned off by the Thrall. We need, and Witch Enchanter is too. We need March of Otherworldly Light.
Yeah, I think we're on a March Robust angle.
Spend 3 mana, exile the other Philia that's in hand, deal with the Leyline, then you still have a mana left over for push. But need it basically right now. And even that might not be good enough. You're at 6, staring down Scion Flage still. Yeah, it has Witch Enchanter on top, but that's useless at this point. And there's just another land. Raja staring at his cards, desperately hoping they will change into better cards. But that is not going to happen. Good news, Raja. Your Pistons are a lot better than they were 2 years ago. So at least you got that going for you.
Yeah, take the win so you can get it. Getting the Witch Enchanter under here will be helpful if we ever do answer the ley line, right? Because then we can blow up the Scion. We'll blow up this binding if we need to. But I've got a feeling we're going to have our first Game 3, Match 3 moment of our tournament today on coverage. So Felia can flicker. This.
Okay, so we can I guess we can temporarily deal with that. Then Fatal Push the Thrall.
Yeah. We Fatal Push Thrall, and then Witch Enchanter the Scion and Fatal Push the Flage. That should work out.
Yeah, this is very nicely set up.
Okay. And now you might have to fetch Shock because you don't have a Delta to get your Swamp.
And that is quite scary. Down to 3. So any Bolt, Tribal Flames, or Flage.
Well, how many fetch lands are in play? There's at least 2 with 2 cards in yard, so that's dangerously close.
So it really just needs another untapped land. So it can fetch for a Surveil.
Yep. Leyline comes back at the end of turn from the Felia. And looks like we drew Territorial Kavu.
Yeah, it's Kavu Leyline. So well played from Raja to find the line out of it. Surveilling into the Witch Enchanter actually worked out. Got to put that in the graveyard and then use the Felia to just deal with the Leyline long enough. Certainly not out of the woods.
He's definitely not out of the woods, but kind of closing in. And this is part of why, Raja Suleiman was one of our NRG champs 2 years ago. Excuse me, 3 years ago now. Soon to be, at least. Time flies, as Territorial Kavu does look to be the play.
Witch Enchanter, of course, had to be exiled on end step. Players forgot that, but fixed it there.
And Quantum Riddler off the top. We can warp that in, draw 2, and then Felia it.
Yeah, hopefully play some cards before Feliaing it and drawing 2 more on the second trigger.
Be Still My Heart. If Raja can find something like Solitude White card as well, he'll be safe from the Flage. Oh, I guess this Emperor Bones is actually going to eat the Flage now.
Oh, yeah.
It survived the turn cycle. My mistake.
Okay. Maybe Raja just goes for a hard cast so he doesn't have to attack the Felia into the Kavu.
Reasonable. It's weird because he has the other Felia in hand, but that is a card to pitch to Solitude. So, all right, Thoughtseize and Polluted Delta were the draw here for Raja.
Not good.
Not exactly what the doctor was wanting. Flage is at.
He has the board stable. Answer the Flage.
Probably wants to play the land for turn still, just to get closer to triggering a Quantum Riddler later. Maybe also have a use for the mana. 3 and 2 and 1 are all basically the same against this deck. As Flage is gone, and yeah, we're just going to hold back, it looks like. Make sure this Territorial Kavu doesn't cheese us with a Leyline binding.
Yeah, has a good double block regardless of any removal spell, so.
Okay. Justin here can fetch.
End step fetch Surveil.
Yeah, I wonder if you fetch twice just to, get the land out of your deck and then Surveil. Could fetch again with the Surveil trigger on the stack. Get a little fancy with it.
But if you find something you like this turn, you may want to save the other Surveil land for next turn.
Well, you've already got one in play though with the Portico.
Oh, this is the last one.
Yeah, the Portico is hiding. It's hiding this time for you. As you see, trick on the stack. I'm going to fetch here. Ship this land out of my deck. I think we're just double checking to make sure we have the mana in case something happens to the ley line of the Guild Pact in play. That way we don't have to play the other one to have perfect mana. It's small but could matter. Looks like Sacred Foundry. All right, Thundering Falls, Surveil Trigger. Put that land in the graveyard. Got a couple of those out of the deck. Was that like a consign? I think it was a blue card.
I thought so too, but didn't get a great look at it. We know the other card is another ley line.
Consign is weirdly powerful against Felia. Sometimes your opponents flicker out their own stuff and you can consign the return.
If Justin really wants to see another card, he can send this Kavu to its death, turn the ley line into the top card. Like discarded the card he drew.
Which was a land, it seems.
Yeah. Found a Stubborn Denial, and that's no help here. Raja playing around a Leyline Binding with a triple block. It's still only one creature that Justin's going to trade for here, since the two smallest creatures still combine to 6 toughness.
Okay, going after the Emperor of Bones, leaving Felia behind, has another Territorial Kavu.
It's the biggest creature he can deal with in case he draws Scion to give the Kavu trample, and it also makes it easier for him to flage in this game. If Raja gains a little bit of life, so he's out of range of one flage trigger, you can flage and cast it from the graveyard. Another Quantum Riddler, the draw.
Yeah, it's kind of it's weird. It's like playing it is actually kind of nice just because the body is really big. Like you need to keep checking these Kavus, and you're kind of in this, I don't want to say hopeless position, but this dire straits of needing to kind of have things break your way a little bit.
Yeah, that 6th point of toughness seemed unnecessary. This card has so much going for it. You needed to give it a 6th point of toughness too.
Yeah, I wonder if that was like a standard consideration of like this card wasn't landing because it was losing to like some 5 damage spell, and they're like, yeah, we'll put a point there. Maybe it sees play. I don't know. We'll have to get the story on that someday.
We know now it's seeing a lot of play in all the formats.
It's very good.
Raja getting aggressive.
Yeah, this is very aggro. If we're going to do this, I much prefer warping the first one.
Okay, so gives up the first dog.
Yeah, you have second dog in hand, so maybe Raja was really banking on Solitude there. Stubborn Denial number 2 here for Justin. Excuse me, another one. Pardon me, not a number 2. This is this Leyline of the Guild Pact you can discard. But if you don't find a lethal burn spell, your Kavu goes away. But what else is it really doing besides holding back Riddlers from attacking? Weird spot.
Yeah, again, enter the point where the Zoo deck's lack of card advantage and card selection is really killer. You draw a lot of blanks in the late game, extra ley lines. Your deck doesn't flood nearly as well. On 4 lands and a land is completely dead, while Raja's over here using 5 and 6 mana every turn.
And Raja draws the 3rd Thoughtseize. He needs them in the early game to stop the Leyline Scion that we saw was so powerful. But here, just basically blank draws. I also wonder if Justin sideboard out some of the Lightning Bolts and Tribal Flames, and that's part of why we're not attacking, right? Like maybe game 1, we go for the loot here when we have so many hits. This game, maybe we know we're on a little less. Emperor of Bones comes down.
Anything juicy in that graveyard? I don't think so. The Witch Enchanter is exiled since that was returned earlier.
Yeah, we don't have a white card. Actually, we don't have a Solitude, excuse me. We have a Felia and a bunch of Thoughtseizes. All right, so Emperor of Bones.
I wouldn't mind putting the Scion underneath this, because the Scion can temporarily give your Quantum Riddlers hexproof, and the Emperor can put it into the battlefield at instant speed.
I really want Doorkeeper Thrall for Flage, but maybe I'm a coward.
Yeah, that would also be a good one.
A lot of options here.
I mean, he doesn't have an answer to the Flage in hand either way. He'd have to rip one the next turn because the Flage would stay in play with the Doorkeeper Thrall.
Yeah, but at least I don't know. I guess I don't see the vision on the Emperor Bones as much. Well, all right, there's Leyline Binding.
That Leyline Binding is going to be really awkward. Suppose after the untapped Riddler is exiled, if the Kavu comes in, you can just put the other Emperor into play and double block, effectively trade Emperor for Kavu.
All right, Alex Hamilton on Terror has defeated High Tide 2-1. This is the deciding match of the team. It all comes down to this. Quantum Riddler just going to take a little block ski poo. Leave this Emperor Bones out of combat.
Interesting. So, Justin, let's Raja get off the clean block. Wonder if Raja's going to try to set up one really big attack. You end step, activate Emperor, put in Emperor. Then on your turn, you activate the second Emperor after exiling a creature with it, say like Scion or Kavu that's in the graveyard. Kavu would be the most damage, and that's 21.
Yeah, and it looks like here Raja was double checking his mana, because now if we try to Leyline Binding this Emperor Bones, we can adapt again in our response. We will obviously lose the Emperor Bones, but so yeah, this is 12 damage currently, 14 with the Emperor Bones. We don't put any mana into it.
And if the Leyline gets used on Emperor, it's still 17. You just lose the first Emperor to Leyline, get the second one, get Kavu. You have 3 4s and a 5. So I think Justin figured that out and realized that he has to let this one go.
Yeah.
And he actually has to exile.
The fresh one.
Second, the one that's didn't cost Raja a card. And that will also stop any shenanigans with his own territorial Kavu.
All right. It's so funny, all this too, because if Raja draws Solitude, so many of the outs just go away, right? He does Solitude his own creatures. So, lot going on here. We'll have to see what's going to happen. Felia comes on down. Felia also representing there's Solitude. Oh, okay. So coming in here, this is 14 damage. Justin's at 17. Now, you maybe don't want to attack everything, but you can definitely chunk Justin for a good amount here. I'm kind of partial to attacking with one of the Riddlers, flickering the other one with your Felia, and hitting for 6 down to 11. Maybe the Emperor Bones as well is just we're sending in. Now you have the Solitude as well.
We send in with the small creatures, blink a Riddler.
This makes sense to me.
Just play a little patient, go for the kill next turn. Which is what he, would have had to do anyway, but doesn't need to do max damage this turn in order to kill next turn. So might as well have some blockers back. Finds a Ketramos.
Yeah, Ketramos allows us for a free Solitude if we needed it. And it looks like Arena of Glory is one of the cards in hand here for Justin. That could be a way to get some sneaky damage in.
I don't think there's another creature.
I don't think so either.
No, is that a Ragavan?
It could. Yeah, it does kind of look like Ragavan on top. Dashed.
Okay. Now, what does the Kavu bring? Discards the arena.
Celestial Purge.
Can hit the Emperor Bones.
Yeah. There are worse draws in the deck by a lot. Now Raja needs to figure out, do I want to flash in this Solitude? Do I just want to block? Where am I at here? I think Raja just wants to throw guys in front of guys, and yeah.
Make Justin commit more.
Mm-hmm.
There's no. I feel you should have had a counter from the blink last turn. So
yeah. Might have also been a thing that they said, but just forgot to grab the die, especially in the heat of the moment like this. Very easy for everyone to be like, yeah, this is a 3, And yeah, it looks like Justin's just picking the cards up, even though we have the purge, just can't actually close the door out from here.
The extra point on the Philia was lethal.
Yep.
Purge on the 4/4 left, exactly 11 damage. So,
yeah. Yep. Well, congratulations there to the team of Dykeman, Suleiman, and Smith winning it there. I was winning that game, but they still have game number 3. Pardon me. I had a moment that this has been going for so long. March of the Worldly Lights here in Raja's sideboard, it looks like.
This is our first game 9. All 3 matches went the distance. They split the first 2. Big game. We're about halfway through the tournament, 7 rounds of Swiss. So when you're 4-0, you're knocking on the door of the top 8. If you're 3-1, you're back against the wall. Another loss and you're likely out. So I feel, it's a really, really big swing. You can either be 1 win away from the top 8 or 3 wins away from the top 8.
Yeah, and here's Raja's deck. We got to see a little bit of how Raja was sideboarding. Put back in a bunch of consigns in March of Otherworldly Lights. Unsure what was, being cut for those, but I mean, this sort of deck is quite popular right now in Modern.
I think maybe Consign is a play draw consideration. It has very narrow utility, but being able to counter a Scion when your opponent is on the play could be important. And it's a lot harder to break up the Leyline Scion combo with your main deck tools, the Witch Enchanters, Flicker Wisps, and things like that, and Philia. It's just harder to set that up when you fall behind. And if you end up taking too much damage trying to set it up, then you get into burn range. So Raja may be thinking, I need a couple, at least a couple of these consigns on the draw to have more direct ways to stop a turn 2 Scion without having to rely on those more expensive, slower answers.
All right, let's quickly take a look at the Zoo deck as well. We can see the players are shuffling up and about to present a cut. So quickly taking a look over here. We saw those purges came in. Potentially, Mystical Dispute, probably something that's over there. A couple of good cards.
Yeah, and this is another matchup where Consign does some work, but isn't an all-star. I usually like Consign out in this matchup if you're really concerned with Solitude, and I believe Justin is. Maybe you don't want all 3, but it seems like a better card than Stubborn Denial to me because there's just so few spells that you care about in the Esper deck.
Yep. And it looks like we have the Leyline for the game 3 as well. And I see a Scion in hand, Ross.
And, not Turn 1 Ragavan. I thought we were going to have the nuts, but just a Nile Spellbomb. So that came in out of the sideboard. There are some graveyard elements. It's a little awkward against Overlord, though, because you can't actually stop the Overlord if they mill a creature with the trigger.
Yeah, all you ever really do is if they had something they wanted to with it on the stack, you can get it, or trigger on the stack, we should say as well.
But it does come with, a very low opportunity cost because it cycles. If that was something like Tormod's Crypt, no, I don't want it.
Yeah, definitely. Exerting the Scion here. No consign for Raja. And yeah, I mean, we're at 15 now.
It's beat down a clock. There is a March of Otherworldly Light in Raja's hand, so we may see him pitch a couple cards to answer this Leyline.
And it's a high price to pay, but a price you have to pay if you're going to be able to kill this Scion. Obviously, Raja has a couple of the ways to temporarily remove the Leyline, but not many permanent ways. Especially in time, too. This Arena of Glory, getting on this attack a turn sooner is so massive.
Yeah, effectively, 1 fewer turn, 1 fewer card. That is a huge deal.
Yeah, and Raja's deck fetch shocks a lot. So, I mean, it's pretty fair to assume that Raja is probably going to hit 12, which means he knows he kind of has 3 turns for this game. Maybe he can string together enough basics and fetching tap to make it work, but it's not an easy task.
Then you also have to consider the burn out of the Zoo deck. So maybe you only have 2 hits that you could really afford to take.
True. Consigns the draw here for Raja. He kept it on top with the Surveil.
A little bit late. A little bit late. If he had that one last turn, he'd be in great shape.
We do have a Psychic Frog. That's kind of our very strong turn 2 play we can make.
Okay.
Looks like we're kind of checking out time here. Plains, not very good at Psychic Frog.
Once again, well, it had a Marsh Flats in hand, so clearly just didn't want to play Psychic Frog.
Yeah.
That was a conscious choice by Raja.
All right, fetch land. Looks like we have Purge and Leyline Binding in hand here for Justin. So we are just playing the Delver game. Up to 28 goes Justin. Down to 11 goes Raja. Passing of the turn. We do have the Spell Bomb. Time is called. Okay. So I believe Justin will be turn 0 here as Felia enters the battlefield. Leyline Binding that Felia. Get it out of here. It's going to protect our Leyline of the Guild Pact. Thoughtseize the draw from Raja. Raja was turn 0. Okay.
So now we're on turn 2. So Justin has 2 more turns of his own to try to close out this game. He might come up just a little bit short. And players are in a position where a draw is a lot better than a loss.
Yep.
We had 71 teams, I believe, just over the cutoff to get to a 7th round. That usually means that X11 is quite safe.
Probably going to see the Spell Bomb get cycled here at the end of the turn. Just to try to draw into some sort of creature like Territorial Kavu or Burn Spell. We do have this Arena and a Bolt in hand. So Raja's at 8. If the Scion connects the 2 more turns, that would be lethal. Oh, and Raja maybe going for the Thoughtseize, hoping to pick apart what Justin has. And Justin can bolt in response.
And he does. Raja's going to go to 6 here, and the Purge will go away.
All right. Purge down.
A couple huge draw steps for Justin Christensen. Can he find some creatures to give haste with this Arena of Glory, get over the finish line in the last 2 turns of round 4?
Yeah, I mean, and can Raja stop the Scion? Part of the issue here is these fetch lands, too, are losing us life. All right, Upkeep, we're going to fetch for a Surveil land, try to find one of our mini 2-mana or even 1-mana creatures.
But you take yourself off of Territorial Kavu haste this way.
Ooh, you do. That's true.
So it's really only Ragavan and Scion.
And burn spells.
And burn spells. So quite a lot. So the extra look on slightly fewer cards, I think, is worthwhile.
I think so, too. Leyline of the Guild Pact.
That was just an Arid Mesa. So now we could pop the Spell Bomb and still hit Burn Spell, Ragavan, or Scion.
Yeah, I mean, I like popping the Spell Bomb here and just take your redraw. I mean, you were willing to do so much a second ago to get another look. Might as well. That's Flage.
So if this Scion comes across, Raja at 2, he needs to. I guess he can consign the trigger.
He has to find an answer to this Draco, though, Ross. We still get one more attack step. Even a chump block, I guess, does the job, but...
Yeah, if Raja can find one of his other basics and be able to play Psychic Frog, hold up Consign, and just block for a turn, consign the trigger, he can live through turn 5.
It's so crazy, too, because if we main phase the Flage, we get to use the Consign, right? Which would give us the... we can discard cards and jump. Excuse me. Okay, I was thinking we needed to have the cards in the graveyard. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Raja, we got outs. Let's see what we draw.
Swamp!
Let's just play the Psychic Frog.
Now, and he has enough cards in hand.
Plenty here. Here's Psychic Frog.
Oh my god. Now there's still some good draws here for Justin Christensen. A Ragavan, because he can haste with the Arena of Glory and still have 3 mana for Flage. Another burn spell. But it would have to be a bolt. Because he only has 4 mana, so it has to be a 1-mana card. He needs Bolt, Ragavan, or Stubborn Denial if Stub is still in his deck.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't a creature work too? Because a creature he can just attack. I don't think Roger
Sure,
has
yeah, if he goes for it instead of the Flage, but it can't be Scion because that also gets consigned.
Yeah, it can't be signed. Yeah. And the teammates are talking about something. If it's a Bolt, they've got to be feeling good. Although I guess, all right. So oh no! And they just attack immediately. They drew something. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it wasn't attack. Maybe it was just a fixing of the cards. It looked like we were pushing forward. Unclear. The stubborn denial. I wonder if they're playing around like solituding his own frog. Is maybe what they're thinking about.
I think that was the card that was on their radar exactly. And oh my god, this is going to be. That's a tough one.
We're gonna jump the frog. It's gonna live. Justin gains a lot of life.
First strike, trample. So on lifelink. Does and Raja could discard it. He has one other spare card. He could eat the Scion.
Yeah, I think eating the Scion is probably the play that gets the most likelihood of your opponent conceding, too. Of like, maybe I would have actually won this game. Obviously, I think this game is far from over.
Yeah, so now the Scion dies. Justin gains some life, tries to show him the Flage, can sign the trigger with Replicate. I guess actually, yeah, the stub wouldn't have been good enough because Raja could replicate the consign.
Isn't Replicate cost blue or is it one? I'm sorry.
No, it's colorless.
It's one color. Okay. So yeah, so stub would not have done that. You're right.
So this is not nearly this level of feel bad, but it looks like this is going to end as a draw, and it would have been a tough spot for Raja. He would have had two cards, draw step and frog, to find an answer to the Flage in the graveyard.
Yeah, and tough place to be in for both players. What a game and a half. I mean, oh my goodness, just back and forth the whole time. Well, that was time in the round, as you just saw. It's one of our last matches. We need to set up for the next feature match. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes with round 5 of coverage. See you soon.